Batman the movie on a Commodore 64 is described as an action video game, but this description might be a bit misleading, as the so-called action is, well, not really there. The game isn't really fast-paced enough to qualify as an action game, in my opinion, but nonetheless, it was a game that sold in its thousands and made Ocean Software a fat wad of cash. The game is based on a 1989 Tim Burton film, which was correctly described as an action movie, and was released on several formats covering both 8 and 16-bit machines. This is a version of the game I owned, the Commodore 64 version. The game consists of 5 levels based on events from the movie. Each stage has a time limit and a health gauge, represented by Batman's face turning into the Joker's, with Batman losing a life if he runs out of either. The first and last levels are based on a platform scrolling style, with the first one set in the Axis chemical plant, and sees the player take control of Batman as he navigates the different floors and platforms, taking out police and enemies with his Batarang on his way to a confrontation with Jack Napier. The last level is set in Gotham Cathedral, but this time Batman must make his way to the top of the cathedral to stop the Joker escaping in his helicopter with Vicky Vale as his hostage. The second and fourth levels are vehicle style levels, with the second one using the Batmobile, and is basically some slow moving obstacle dodging game. And the fourth one uses a Batwing as you cut the cords on the Joker's balloons before they can release the deadly Smilex gas. The third level is a basic puzzle game where you have to figure out the combinations of cosmetic products to slow down the spread of Smilex. This type of multi-style game was commonplace for Ocean with movie license tie-ins, which quickly started to become stale and predictable, and dare I say it, very boring. The graphics on a Commodore 64 were okay, nothing fancy here at all. I personally felt that the colour scheme was very poor. It's all a bunch of blues or greys, with very little bright colours seen. The driving section was very drab, again, with all dreary, bland grey colours, with the Batmobile being almost the same colour as the road itself. The backgrounds on this section are very poor as well, with the only break from the drab grey coming when you get closer to the Batcave, where you see some greenery on the roadside. These backgrounds were recycled for the Batwing section as well, which made sense given the limitations of the hardware. The Commodore 64 version was noted for being a particularly buggy game, with Ocean doing their usual best endeavours when it came to Commodore 64 games, although at least this time the game was complete, which was an improvement over the Robocop debacle the previous year. This was a game I was never a big fan of, and it wasn't due to the fact that the Commodore 64 was playing second fiddle to the Sega Master System. It was just an average game, in my opinion. The real shame here is that Ocean released a far superior Batman game only a few months earlier, in the guise of Batman the Caped Crusader, which was based on the comic character instead of the movie character. But the Caped Crusader showed that Ocean were capable of producing hits when they put the effort in, and in my opinion, when it came to the Commodore 64, Ocean had just switched off and lost interest in the format. In closing, Batman the movie on a Commodore 64 is a boring, tedious game that moves at such a slow pace, it's difficult to keep the player interested, but please do give it a go for yourself and feel free to comment below if you agree or disagree with my opinions. And that's all from me, folks. Please feel free to comment, like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.